Has Code Geass fallen off by Trash Taste Highlights?
And then we got Code Geass Season 1.
Okay. Do you think Code Geass still deserves the popularity?
Yeah.
That it
100%, yes. Absolutely no contest. It is literally one of my favorite anime out there. And if somebody is wanting a very deep watch, a very like, wow, this makes me think about things, or a very good story, definitely watch it. It has its issues. I'm not going to say it doesn't. R2 is definitely critiqued because of how R1 was going, and they had to shift focus and kind of rewrite R2. Totally get it. This is still one of my peak anime
that I got.
Yeah.
I'm
honestly kind of shocked that it's not higher. It must have fallen recently, as less people probably get into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty old right now.
Yeah, go to the where is it at on this list? Yeah, you do. It was
it went
19.
up. Yeah.
No, it went down.
Did it?
Yeah, it went down.
Go back up. Yeah, it's 21.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it's an old anime, right?
Yeah.
It's because it's older, and also a lot of people, especially on the modern internet. Modern internet's weird. People on the modern internet, they're not going to just have that ability to really dive into it and reflect on some of the themes, right? Every time I go into it, I learn something new or notice something I didn't notice before. And it's a very good series, but it is older. It's like trying to watch the original Neon Genesis Evangelion, or the original Trigun, or, I don't know, the original Fruits Basket, right? Or original FMA, right? Like, it's older and it's iconic in a lot of aspects, but there's things that are just more attention grabbing. Code Geass also kind of has a slow burn. There are people that don't like it until like episode 8, Attack on Cornelia. So for some people it is a slow burn. The series is an incredibly political series with a lot of dark and deep themes. You just open up with, yeah, no, the Holy Britannian Empire just totally just colonized Japan and stripped them of their nation's rights and devalued the Japanese citizen to an 11, quote unquote, a number. Oh, cool. So we're dealing with just blatant racism. We're dealing with, colonization. We're dealing with, imperial powers. We're dealing with oppression, right? Societal issues, classism, right? We're dealing with all that right out the gate. Dealing with patriarchy, dealing with the monarchy, dealing with LGBTQIA plus, what's the word I'm looking for? Millie Ashford. How somebody in Ashford Academy tells her to stay in the closet, and she just kind of like puts her head down, right? Showcasing that being not quote unquote normal is frowned upon and even bullied upon. Like, there's so many subtle things here, and it's more than just Lelouch use funny bird eye power to mind control people and get what he wants. Like, there's so much there. And then we get into season 2, even with the rewrite content, and it's, what is the nature of reality? Do you reject the reality at the end? And if you reject the reality, what do you do about it? Do you make reality a closed loop that's stale, that doesn't move, that is ever unchanging, and so life becomes stagnant? Or do you reject that, embrace that people sometimes are just going to be awful, and move on, right? Jeremiah is actually one of my favorite characters, Orange Boy. God, I love that man, who actually has a cool character arc because he starts out just as a blatant, just absolute jerk, and eventually he comes around, and there's a very subtle moment where he's with Sayaka, right, the ninja, and she's like, she says, oh, well, you're Japanese, which is it's so subtle, and nobody else points it out. But the fact is that he says oh, you're Japanese versus, oh, you're just a filthy 11, right? Whole character arc. It's so good with subtext and so good with some of the themes it brings to the, but it is a very hard watch. Very, very depressing.
I think I'm trying to think. Would I? How much is this nostalgia talking?
Oh, I have an unbridled amount of nostalgia for this show.
Yeah. Nostalgia does have a lot to do with this too.
Oh, this show just makes me feel happy when I see it. It's such a good time. It was like peak Xbox era too, and I'm like, yeah. When I watched it,
I would say if I had to say anything, I think the only thing that has not aged well with Code Geass is potentially the visuals and like the character designs. It is very mid 2000s looking.
I love it. I love the.
It's very clamp actually. A lot of the. Like, if you've seen Clannad, right, or seen artwork for Clannad, how a lot of them have, like, those larger eyes. Men tend to have more angular faces, the smaller eyes, think like Ogi, unless you're, like, a main character like Lucius Suzaku, think like Tamaki, generally they kind of fall into that physical attribute archetype, but, I mean, also Ogi and Tamaki being Japanese. You have Gino, larger eyes. There's certain art isms that are present in Code Geass. A lot of I can't even say that. Like, I think, yeah, a lot of the women art in there, a lot of female art has a lot of larger eyes as well, but it's very Clannad. I think it was because this is what a Sunrise and Clamp duo endeavor, right? Somebody please quote me on this, or somebody please cite me the quote. There was allegedly there was a quote saying just make Gundam but with Char Aznable as the main character, and that's how we got Code Geass. I have had nobody be able to cite that for me. If that is true, please tell me where I can find that so I can actually cite that. Thank you.
Well, that's the thing though. It's very like divisive on like some. I've heard some people say like the visuals for Code Geass are amazing. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like the visuals for Code Geass.
I like them personally,
but in terms of like how the story was written and all of the great things that made Code Geass such a great story, I think it still holds up.
All right. It was the first time I had to start like checking my doors were shut before I watched it.
Yeah,
because there would be random shots of like,
also the blatant.
That was season 2. Season 2.
Oh my god, no, season 1 though. There's a scene where Colin's in the shower, and I remember we had M Sensei, like she was my Japanese teacher in high school. Where I'm not gonna, for obvious reasons, not gonna say her name, right? But like she put on she would put on stuff. I watched some weird movies in high school. If you've ever heard of a Japanese movie called Fish Story, look, all I'm saying, that movie was weird, but that movie went hard. Like, next level. We watched things like Ringu, right? The original Ring. We watched Rashomon with, the very famous... People actually compared episode 8 of Star Wars to the story of Rashomon, where you have samurai goes to area, gets 3 accounts of thing. This is a gross oversimplification. Like, definitely go watch the movie. I need to rewatch it. But it tells the story from 3 different perspectives. It's up to you to kind of insert, hey, this is what happened, right? Very good movies. But we ended up watching a couple things like Yakitate Japan, Bread Anime, which was great. Watched things like Code Geass in class. There were a couple things that we watched, and Code Geass went on the episode where Colin was in the shower, and M Sensei was just like, "Oh no, you can't watch this, you can't watch." She was scrammed. Like, it was so just funny. Like, I get it from a teacher perspective, how like that's a oh crap kind of moment, right? But God, I miss Japanese class. I really do.
Just got randomly way more horny than season 1.
I remember being like, hold on, why am I...
Also, I will say the blatant Pizza Hut ads in the middle of each episode were a bit weird, even back then.
No, I love it.
All right. I got to say this, okay? I'm not sure Code Geass is as good as we remember it, all right?
Yeah, 100%.
I have rewatched it, right?
I will probably disagree with this. I will say that even if I were to stop stream, watch it right now, I still hold a very high opinion of it. But that is a subjective thing. As it turns out, and this came up recently, you can be an adult. You can look at other adults and their opinions, and you can disagree with their opinions, or you can kind of agree with their opinions. And unlike what Twitter and the internet would have you believe, that doesn't mean you don't like the person, or you hate the person, or you want to cancel the person, right? So if he could say Code Geass is god-awful in the next 2 sentences, cool, you're entitled to your opinion. Like, you do you. Just want to take a minute to express that's how you be adults. Everyone's allowed to have their opinions. Even if someone's trash talking one of my favorite series, right? You're allowed to have your opinion. And at least you're coming at it from an educated standpoint. Thank you for coming to my Kip Talk.
We all remember that season 2 fucking mess, right? Season 1 though, perfect show in my mind. Almost perfect show.
That does have to do with how crunch it was, because it was supposed to go. What was it? I think season 1 was supposed to be like 50 episodes, but they cut it at like 25. And there was something about the time slot that it got adjusted to as well, in which they had to censor and rework a couple of different things for the audience in that time slot. So they had to, from my understanding, had to kind of rewrite the entirety of season 2, or like vast swaths of season 2. So if you go in and you watch R1, right, it's a pretty consistent, like, parabolic curve upwards, right? Parabolic trend upwards. But when you go into season 2, and I think season 2, episode 1, if you're wanting someone to know what Code Geass is, you show them season 2, episode 1. That will give them the perfect, this is what the series is in a single episode. That's why season 2 felt a little differently. And that's one of those I had to kind of dig for on information about that. And that's not widely known. And it's really interesting to think about.
One episode with the cat.
I was gonna. Okay. There's one episode with cat. Do we remember the cat episode?
I remember.
Yeah. Do we remember the whole Mao arc?
Yeah, dude, Mao arc was great
too.
That was weird. I loved Mao as a character. So spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Mao is a character who's Geass. He is the first rival that you have with Geass, right? Lelouch goes through, he gets the power in episode 1. He's testing out the limits of the power. He's trying to use the power, and C2 goes, you know, oh crap, he's with Mao. Lelouch, because you are you can never win against Mao. Lelouch's brain works that, and Mao talks about this as well in one of their chess matches, where Lelouch is constantly criticizing his own moves, and from another perspective is criticizing his own move, and then there's a critic being critical of the critic criticizing his own moves in some capacity, right? Because he thinks so much, and because he lays everything out, and because he really just can't turn his brain off in certain aspects, Mao as just gets to use that as like, he's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And he has his hand open, right? Like, just gets to wipe the floor. I will ash that, interrupt that, destroy that. And this man, like, Lelouch cannot play them. He cannot ever compete. And to the end, he doesn't ever really beat Mao. He outsmarts him and outthinks him in regards to the situation with Suzaku saving Nunnally, right? But Lelouch, in that game, in the vacuum of a chess match one-on-one with Mao, he could not win. He is incapable of winning against Mao. And I know a lot of people will look at that and just be like, oh, well, Mao's kind of creepy. You know, he had the chainsaw at Tokyo Land, right? And yeah, absolutely. No, Mao's not supposed to be a likable character. I like him in the fact that he's absolutely deranged. And this is a direct result of being given the power as a child by C2. And C2 being like, yeah, I don't want to be around you anymore. Like, I'm going to go my own way. And also showcases Lelouch what could happen should he fail. So there's a lot of elements going on from a story perspective in that. But I definitely see why people could take issue with the Mao arc. I could see people just being like, well, it's whatever. It wrapped up in an unsurprising fashion. You know, we had Suzaku just spin kicking a turret up top, right? You know, not really realistic. Doesn't really come up a whole heck of a lot after that. I could see a lot of those criticisms. I personally like it, though.
You wiped it from your memory.
I might have wiped it from my memory.
Do you remember when this other random guy with a Geass just kidnapped Nunnally and fucked with Lelouch?
I do remember that.
And I was just like, that was a thing that happened. And
yeah. Oh my god.
Just never.
I guess I did wipe that from my memory. Holy shit! Yeah,
that's so wild because I'll rewatch that arc regularly. It's only like 3 or 4 episodes. That's really wild to hear the other side of this argument of people not liking it. I'm very intrigued.
I do remember that.
Yeah, I remember rewatching Code Geass with Sydney like a few years ago because she'd never seen it. And she still fucking loves the ending and everything. But I think watching it in modern days, you forget that there are... Maybe filler's not the... No, I think it is filler. Where there is a lot of things...
There's a lot of random encounters.
A lot of bloat.
A lot of bloat.
And also, there is this point that I don't know why I thought...
There is bloat. The bloat would be the big pizza episode with Euphemia. Those that know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about, and how that actually leads into the... what is it? It's not the reunification zone of Japan. It's where Bloodstained Euphemia takes place. I can't remember what it's called. But... yeah, there are some filler parts. Like the Arthur episode feels like filler, but even in that filler, so let's talk about the Arthur episode, right? The Cat episode, right? Where Cat walks around with, you know, Zero's helmet and, you know, he could be outed, right? And in that episode, it showcases, because Suzaku being a quote-unquote filthy 11, being Japanese, and not just being Japanese, but being the literal son of the former Prime Minister Genbu Kururugi, right? Is getting bullied, and you see that because he's having to wash his clothes off. He's having to, you know, deal with the bullying and harassment that he's receiving from these Britannian students, right? Because classism, we talked about it. And we go through the episode, and Lelouch very vehemently just doesn't agree with the status quo. And even at the end, where people are scared of Suzaku, and he's like, Lelouch, oh, get away from him. You know, he's just like, no, he's my friend, Suzaku Kururugi. Like, buzz off. And he takes a stand against that classism, takes a stand against that racism. So it is a funny episode. And it's kind of like the beach day arc where, oh, we're just going to take a day to the beach, right? And it does, towards the end, actually tie into events in the main story. Let's go into the whole pizza thing with the Bloodstained Euphemia arc. It showcases that, you know, Lelouch, when it comes to dealing with certain things and certain people, like, oh man, I can handle an entire rebellion and coordinating that, but the moment it comes to school affairs, man, I ain't it ain't happening. And having this kind of like revolving cast of characters going into the storage room and, you know, narrowly missing being found out and stuff like that, to the end where, you know, Suzaku ends up saving Euphemia from, I can't remember what it was, something, I think she was falling or something. And then she makes her declaration about the reunification of Japan, right? Being able to have a sort of, hey, let's start integrating the Japanese into society, right? In a way that, you know, the Britannians are, which is a very controversial thing. And you even see the famous scene where like it's like the light bloom on Lelouch's angry face. That's where that comes from. Because he had in next episode he outlines he had considered those options in the past and that it wouldn't work. So even in the filler, though, if you look hard enough, there are things that do tie to the main story and the main narrative there, which I like. I think in season 2 we might get a few of those that are kind of like one-off, but season 1 for the most part does really kind of string you along with bits and pieces, even in the filler arc.
This was like a fucking genius plot twist when I watched this when I was like 17 or whatever. But if you remember the end of, there was something that happened at the end of season 1.
It's nearly a 20-year-old show.
All right.
I think it's fine.
There was this point where Code Geass had ended.
Okay.
It solved all its conflicts. Like Euphemia was gonna be like, hey, it's okay. I'm going to give up the throne or whatever. I can't remember the exact thing, but I remember.
I think he's talking about exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, I think he's talking about that zone that I was talking about. And let me let him finish his point.
All of like the conflicts had been solved. And then Lelouch just goes, like if I hypothetically told you to go murder everyone.
Oh yeah, that was so fucking funny.
If I just hypothetically told you to go murder everyone, you'd do it. And then out of like sheer coincidence, he had awoken a second Geass. And I'm just like, I remember watching this as
it wasn't that he awoke his second eye. His second eye opened up during the Charles and Marianne confrontation at the end of season 2. No, it was it showcased that he had lost control of his power at that point. His power had matured to the point that he was unable to control it. So what he's trying to come across here is that Code Geass had, for all intents and purposes, wrapped up. And I can absolutely see how someone can reach that conclusion. When at that point, going off what Lelouch says, you know, oh, well, this, you know, I had considered this an option, but this option wouldn't work. If you think about it in a realistic setting, right, where you have a group that is persecuted, a group that is being, you know, classism is not in their favor, they're being oppressed, and you start to bring people into the fold, Britannia is not just going to take that lying down. Your average Britannian citizen, up until this point in time, has showcased that they're willing to just beat a quote-unquote 11, right? Just a Japanese person in the streets for selling hot dogs because they felt like it. That doesn't disappear overnight. And that's how you actually get, from a political sense, you actually get people that will rebel against the idea of that. And Euphemia was actually seen as very daring and taking drastic measures in that. While it was inclusive, absolutely. And while Euphemia was arguably doing the right thing from an ethical standpoint, the fallout of that, had this gone through, was going to be enormous. And even then, Black Knights would eventually dissolve, and then people would enter this this kind of like watchful peace, so to speak, where you have the 11s that are, you know, these issues would still crop up again. And there would still continue to be this kind of class warfare against the Japanese and the Britannians. And I think the show did explain that fairly well. But then again, as we're here, right, maybe it didn't explain it so well. Maybe I picked up on something that other people hadn't picked up on. Or maybe I'm just taking Lelouch at face value. The narrative understanding that I have of the Euphemia, getting to bloodstained Euphemia, was that when he said it, it was him being careless. And that was his punishment. He was careless. That was out of character for Lelouch to, one, admit defeat, to two, just say something that off the wall. And he arguably, from a narrative standpoint, was published for it, right? Because he had to take care of Euphemia. He had to get rid of the, quote, first person he had loved, right? And there is a huge just heartstring, tug string for that entire episode. That entire episode is just rough. But I can absolutely see where he's coming from. I can see where it's like, but it resolved the plot. I would argue it did not resolve the plot. I would argue if the plot resolved there, people would have seen it as a very unsatisfying ending. They would have seen it as a kind of cop-out, and ultimately there would have had to be some inciting incident to really, you know, go into, and even then, even if it wasn't bloodstained Euphemia, right? it could very easily have been some radicalized extremist Britannian ex-soldiers, ex-military, paramilitary, right, that attacks the console or attacks the arena, and then throwing it into the fold. But then again, we start getting into, well, how would that work in comparison? I think Bloodstained Euphemia was narrative genius in regards to what it accomplished in such a short amount of time in comparison to all these other options.
Nardell, I was just like, that feels kind of bullshitty, doesn't it?
Kind of feels shoehorned
At the time, I must have been like, ain't no way. But like now, I'm probably like, I'd watch it, I'd be like, that's fucking dumb.
He's got 2. Wait, he said what to Euphemia at the perfect time, and she starts murdering, and now the plot continues, and then there's a season 2 now.
Yeah, they do say that it is very Deus Ex Machina. Like it very much a Deus Ex Machina moment of this exact moment. I absolutely see how this is. This will throw your suspension of disbelief off.
That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, maybe I think nostalgia is carrying this for me. I think I like it. At
I still think it has the best ending in anime. Period. I just think that if it aired nowadays, probably we'd be calling out some of its, let's say,
inconsistencies,
even with season 1.
Toradora.
We do still.
I'm happy with Toradora at this point. I think it's my favorite romance anime.
I prefer Golden Time.
Golden Time. Yes. You're a real one. You're a real one.
I'm with you guys there.
If we're talking romance shows from the same author, Golden Time, I think
I like
wrote it better.
I always forget about Golden Time.
I think Golden Time is my favorite
we're talking about now.
anime of
It's
all
up
time.
there.
On an episode, I think I even said
I say this fully acknowledging that Ghost Bannery was a thing that I would like to wipe from my memory. Do you remember Ghost Bannery?
No, I don't know.
All right, good. Let's
So I have to rewatch Golden Time?
let's keep it. Do you not remember?
So we agree that we like this spot, but we swap it with Golden Time.
I would swap Toradora with
But
Golden
you think
Time,
like
for
23rd for Golden Time is chill? Wait, why do I recognize this show?
That's Golden Time.
This is Golden Time.
Oh.
So Ghost Bannery was a side plot that
Is it in the anime?
Yes.
Oh my god, I do remember this.
Because it was so shit. We had just wiped this side plot from all of our memories. And this is the one blight that's bringing down Golden Time for me.
Oh.
What is that Hunter x Hunter edit?
I do remember feeling like... I do remember feeling the fucking cult thing was weird, but I liked it. I don't know.
I think that part.
Let's continue with the list.
Okay,
we like Golden Time.
Golden Time better than Toradora.
It depends how cults are written, honestly. Like, you can write it super ham-fisted and just, this is a plot point, this is a plot point, this is a plot point, who cares, right? You can also, it doesn't even have to be in a horror setting. It really just depends how you write a cult. I think there are correct ways to write them. And I think that there are incorrect ways to write them. So I think it's very dependent on the media.
The violin wine.
Okay, Your Lie in April, 24.
For God's sake, I hate my Look at this ReZero title. What the fuck?
Can you read that?
ReZero kara hajimeru isekai seikatsu.
Very good.
No, pronunciation was on point too.
ReZero for short. Okay. Your Lie in April, I have a bias towards this show because I love shows about music, and as someone who did classical piano, like the soundtrack to it is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it did a lot of really good things. The ending was a bit whack, I will say.
It wasn't the ending. It was halfway through.
Halfway through?
It was halfway through.
Which part?
It was like episode 14, I think.
I don't remember.
Okay, I will tell you this, Joey, because I really liked Your Lie in April, and I thought I really fucking liked the music aspect of that. And then at some point, it just felt like it just gave up on that aspect and was just and it was like the writer thought, hey, this isn't sad enough seeing someone deal with their trauma of rediscovering music. We need fucking cancer or some shit.
Yeah, we need a real death.
Yeah, and that to me, after that tonal shift, that I kind of like just checked out because it almost felt
forced.
It almost felt like a little bit too forced. Where I was really emotionally invested in I can't remember the main character's name, of like falling in love or rediscovering his love for music and all the trauma that he went through. I was like really emotionally invested in that. Yeah. I felt super sad and super happy when seeing him perform again. And then they just gave up.
When he hears the music again for the first time, like that scene is gorgeous. That made me cry like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch it someday. Probably not because it's about music.
It's one of those things that I really can't comment on it because I haven't seen it. So like in a vacuum, you know, I can comment in certain things in a vacuum from a like general story or narrative perspective. I mean, yes, you want kind of an inciting incident. You kind of want something for your main character, main cast to kind of fight against, whether that be some kind of illness, whether that be the trauma of their past, ghosts of their past, whether that be you know, an adversary like Xenos from Final Fantasy XIV, right? You know, you want something to kind of string along the plot. I mean, that's why we have slice of life anime that's just kind of like go to school, have bread in mouth, run, get hit by bus, enter Isekai land. I mean, maybe not that last one, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I think that it can come across as forced, and I think that it can come across as even potentially disingenuous if you have a conclusion and it almost feels like you're just trying to do the rest to fill either an episode requirement, a time slot requirement, or you're trying to pad it out with bloat. I mean, I think that these are all relevant things to take into consideration with a story. If you're trying to write a story and your quota is 3 books, but your entire plot is finished by 3/4 through book 1, what do? Right? Or you set up your main plot point in 1, but the plot point is like, you know, oh, well, we just have to go to this castle in the middle of this country, right? And you spend, you know, 1 and 3/4 books just talking about the political landscape, like kind of like the Robert Jordan effect of just like hair tugging, braid pulling, swapping between several different characters. Like, it depends when you do it and how you do it. And there's absolutely an art to writing this. I know a lot of people will give modern shows flack and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, we don't like female leads. No, we don't. We're fine with female leads. We're fine with NB leads. We're fine with literally, just give us a story. We don't care who's helming it. We don't care what they are, what they identify as. We care about good writing. It's why something like Lord of the Rings, right? We'll see a lot of people coming back to it because the characters are written well. You have a plot point that, oh, well, Mordor's over here. Oh, well, but they could just take the Eagles. Okay. If you're going to argue about the Eagle standpoint, 1, you're just here to argue. 2, I have responded in paragraphs to why that would not work, okay? We're talking, oh, it was a stealth mission, right? Okay, yeah, that's why we didn't, in the book, we didn't have, not Gil-galad. I can't remember his name. Oh my god, it's the dude who got reincarnated because he killed Gothmog in the first age. No, he didn't. That was Ecthelion. Yeah, Ecthelion killed Gothmog, fell into the well in Gondolin. Oh my god, I don't remember his name now, but he was in Rivendell in the books. Let's just take the movies, right? Well, in the movies, why couldn't they just take the... no, it's not Gandalf, no. Why can't we just take the Eagles, right? So, what part of Saruman had just betrayed them do people not understand? Glorfindel, thank you. People be like, oh, yeah, that happened. This is, like, shockingly new information and shocking information to them. It is world-changing. Because he is the head of the White Council. It's like the council they were all a part of. Some of the people that were at that council were on the White Council, which was like responsible for making sure the world wasn't, blowing up, right? Right? Watchful peace, watching out for, a potential return of Sauron, right? Yeah, Saruman headed that and had just betrayed them. The Gap of Rohan was closed. We have Ringwraiths, Nazgul. Yes, they did get washed away down, is it the Brunnen? I can't remember what's outside of Rivendell. It's in the Trollshaws. Yes, they were taken care of, but it's like, you have spies everywhere. So even if you make the argument, okay, like, well, they could just go somewhere else and then take the Eagles. Where are they going to go? Are they going to go to Dale? Are they going to go to Erebor? That's already, that is confirmed a theater at the time, a theater of war at the time of the Pelennor Fields, right? In Return of the King, right? We also had, and this is more in the book, we had Glowing and Gimli coming from Erebor, from the Lonely Mountain, to say, yeah, we have this emissary who may or may not be the mouth of Sauron. We had this emissary come asking for this Baggins and this insignificant trifle of a ring. Yeah, this guy's kind of shady. Where do you want them to go? I mean, oh, well, they could just, go over Karhadras or go, through the Mines of Moria, and they could get to Lorien, and they could call the Eagles there. Okay, on the borders of Lothlorien, right? Were they not being pursued by Uruk-hai? Not Uruks, Uruk-hai. The modified ones by Saruman? Were they not already being patrolled? And then you can argue in the books as well. You had a Nazgul when they were going towards the Argonath, right? Legolas actually shoots what is thought to be a fell beast out of the sky. Okay, so you see how even when I give this my time, right? Even when I start explaining, okay, this is going to be, you know, a stealth mission. These are the reasons this can't happen. These are the places you can't go because there are issues going on. You see now how we have derailed this into effectively a paper at this point of plot points, to which I will have a comment down below in a non-sarcastic fashion say, but that's just dumb. So, if we're going to have the Eagles argument, I expect a paper in return. All I'm going to say at this point, I open the internet to that at this point. I open up to the internet if you're going to argue this point, you need to put your money where your mouth is, and you need to write that paper, and it needs to be researched, right? All I'm going to say.
Yeah, and then it kind of went a completely different direction about halfway through.
Is this your way of kind of saying maybe it doesn't deserve to be in the top 25?
I think it's a little overrated.
Yeah, I think
it's a top 50, not a top 25.
No.
Yeah,
no, not even top 50.
I think it did a lot of good things, but again, like Sword Art Online, I feel like it fumbled the bag.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is interesting because I remember reading somewhere that apparently Oda, the creator of One Piece, he named Your Lie in April as the one manga he wish he wrote.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Shit.
Yeah, and I'm like,
ain't no way.
Ain't no way. It would have been a very different show if you had written it.
Yeah.
Next up,
ReZero Season 1.
I hear ReZero's good.
I'm kind of impressed how much of an impact ReZero has had, considering not much has happened in the anime yet.
No.
I feel like we're just at the start of a journey.
Yeah.
And it's releasing way too slowly.
I had a really fun time watching Season 1.
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah.
really liked it too. Because it was a very fresh concept. And I felt like they explored the return, when you die, you return. I felt like they explored it in a really fun way, and in such, like, I feel like other shows would be too scared to do what it did, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot. It was fun.
Yeah.
The side characters started to lose me a bit though. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
I hear the main characters
Also,
are the
he's
selling
cringe,
point.
which is great because he learns to not be cringe.
He's a true gamer.
Yeah, he literally
That's the gamer arc that we needed,
Whereas
man.
like Kirito, it should always cringe.
He literally dies from cringe.
Yeah. So I think, oh man, it's so tough because
Would you put it in 25?
I feel like it's ReZero is still so new almost.
ReZero's cooking.
Yeah, it's still in the oven. I feel like it's not done. It's
Watching season 2 kind of reminded me of watching Attack on Titan season 2.
Yeah.
Where you felt like, oh, they're cooking something.
We're scratching.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're cooking, but I'm starting to smell it. I'm starting to smell it.
I understand the issue with Attack on Titan after a certain point was that they just didn't end the series. Oh, this is the final. Oh, no, this is the final. Oh, no, this is final. I personally haven't watched it. It honestly really failed to capture my interest personally, but that could also just be, you know, my limited time, workaholic nature, etc. Never really got into Attack on Titan. I know it's big, but this is the other part of the ReZero thing where ReZero's cooking, right? But are they going to deliver when it's done in the oven? That's what I'm curious about.
Been like season 3. Season 3 is out.
No, it's not out. Only season 2 is out.
It's about to come out.
That was season 2.
That was season 2. We've only had 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That's fucked. Season 2 felt like it was just build up.
It was.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, and when it ended, I was like, huh?
Yeah. So I think season 3 is going to be the real determiner to me. But
come on, man. There's only so much Rem merchandise we can push on this show. And come on, bro.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is season 3?
It's airing next year, I think.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. We watched the
the trailer together, Connor.
Yeah. Dude, I mean,
you announced it, Connor.
I know, I did announce it. I mean, what's crazy to me is that they must have unlimited money.
Probably.
This show, the amount of Rem merch they must have sold is
I appreciate the fact that they're not rushing this shit out either. Like they're cooking, and I will let them cook as long as we get something
waifu
sold.
penetration
in the market is. We haven't seen this kind of waifu penetration in a long time.
Yeah,
don't say waifu penetration.
Waifu penetration in the market of waifus.
We have.
I think he brings up a good point though. Let studios let people cook. I think it becomes an issue if they cook too long and don't deliver. We see this in the gaming sphere where certain things like Anthem, right? You have things like Anthem, which BioWare was in development for 7 years. And then, yes, there was the EA showcase. Oh, this is what we're working on. In all fairness, though, storyboarding for 7 years seems excessive, at least to me, in a vacuum. Or something like, to me, I was hyped for Tears of the Kingdom. And then I got my hands on it, and I'm just like, I don't really think that delaying the release and increasing that price tag was worth it, in my opinion. but we're going to call that a Kip hot take. I'm not saying the game is trash. I don't think that was necessarily the right call, though. But then again, I'm also not, one of the largest media companies in the world. So take that as you will. I think that he absolutely brings a point, though. If there's a huge problem with crunch culture, and not just video games, not just anime, not just media, everything. Crunch culture is god awful. Yes, we get gems like Majora's Mask and Halo 2 because of crunch culture, and technically even more Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind too. That was Bethesda's saving moment, was that, and the start of the Todd games, right? But we need to not glorify being a workaholic. We need, I know, pot calling the kettle black, I'm saying that. We need to not glorify crunch culture. If studios need some time, that's fine. The other side of this is something like the Elden Ring DLC, which I know a lot of people are looking forward to. And for me, at this point in time, this could change. It's been too long. I don't really think I'm going to get back into it. And definitely not when I have things like Destiny 2, Final Shape, things like Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail, all happening in quick succession. It's honestly to the bottom of my list. And but that's the risk you run, right? If Nintendo said, oh, hey, we're going to release Pokemon Gen 10, right? And they're like, well, we need another year for this. And they deliver a game with as many bugs as Scarlet and Violet, which I love Scarlet and Violet. I played both of them through. You can see how that could have a negative consequence as of that. Fallout 76 was crunch culture, absolutely. You can have your Halo 2s, you can have your Majora's Masks, but you can also have your Fallout 76s. Crunch culture is not the answer, and we need to make sure that we're giving people the time they can and rewarding games like Baldur's Gate 3 that will come out and they're a quality product. And then obviously stuff happens and they just get layoffs and stuff, and it's like, that's not your fault. That's big money above you. So reward things that don't deal with crunch culture. Reward things that have a quality product, that are willing to be worth your time.
We have Asuna.
No, Rem fucking bodies.
Also,
you think so?
I think Rem bodies Asuna.
In terms of like popularity?
Yeah.
No, I think when Sword Online came out,
I think
was fucking everywhere.
Asuna started the trend.
Pound for pound,
Rem just rode that wave,
wow.
man.
Asuna started the boring vanilla disco trend. Thank you. And then Rem perfected it.
Asuna didn't earn it, bro.
Asuna ran so Rem could walk.
Oh my gosh.
I will stand by that.
I don't feel like it's gonna cook so hard, like you said, that I don't want to put it in 25 because I feel like it's gonna climb. But right now, I just don't want to put it anywhere.
It depends how.
It's hard to place.
I don't think I would put it in my top 50 right now.
It's definitely hard to place. Are we comparing Asuna to Rem?
Okay.
Well, while you do that, what's the next one, just so we can have a look?
The next one is Noragami at 27 is fucking insane to me.
Heard of this.
I think the opening is
openings are amazing.
The opening is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Because that opening was so goddamn popular. Good. And also, it was another one of those shows where it was everyone's thumbnail. Oh, everyone's profile picture. The main guy from Noragami.
Yeah.
It was always, you'd go on any online website, everyone had Noragami as their profile picture.
Okay, I need to fact check this really quick. Ignore the monstrous amount of tabs that I have open right now. Noragami. Oh, hi, Zentrea. No, he's not wrong. Actually, he's actually fairly spot on. Nope, that's a W for him.
Yeah.
It was mostly Tumblr though, wasn't it?
Tumblr did.
I'm feeling like Tumblr, seeing Tokyo Ghoul and seeing Noragami, I'm like, damn, Tumblr did a lot of heavy lifting.
Noragami also had like a lot of style. And the time it came out, I think it was it was quite unique at the time it came out.
I think, admittedly, I did have a lot of fun watching Noragami Season 1, especially.
Yeah.
Just because, it was just such a fun, lighthearted, really aesthetic show as well. But like, it wasn't the most interesting or compelling in terms of story. And then Noragami Season 2 just started to fucking drag on.
Was this popular in Japan?
So that's actually the issue that I have with someone like almost like George R.R. Martin. Oh my god, I haven't actually read his stuff. Like Robert Jordan, where in his pacing, it wasn't like book 1, Eye of the World was fine. Book 2, Great Hunt, whatever. Book 3, sure, keep on going. By the time I'm hitting book 5, book 6, going into Crown of Swords, book 7, I'm like, I'm kind of good, man. Like I get the story. and there's been some cool stuff like Dumai's Wells. There's been some weird isms like Sidon and Sidar, the magic system being split into male and female. Like, pacing is so essential to a story for a lot of people. And there's absolutely people that, if you like Robert Jordan, think it is a perfect, perfect series, I'm not going to take that away from you. Absolutely not. It's one of those that I will take the Cliff Notes, Spark Notes version. Maybe I'll go read some of them, but they are so far down on my list to actually read. Like, I will read about like Beren and Luthien from Tolkien before I read that. I will read Narnia again before I read Jordan again. No disrespect to him or Brandon Sanderson by any means. Just showcasing why pacing is important.
I believe so, yeah.
This is like, I watched Noragami and I'm like, this was a fine show that I almost have no opinion of. And then I see it the 27th most popular and I'm like, why? How did this happen? Why this show?
Totally.
Why the fuck? Like, what about Noragami stood out to get this popular? I literally have no idea.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a bad show, but
it's just uninteresting.
I don't even remember much about it. Yeah.
The only thing I remember... Wait, so that's comparing Asuna to Rem?
Yeah. What time period is that?
This is 2000. Past 5 years.
Wow.
Past 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, Asuna's fell off.
Yeah, Asuna did fell off, but what about when... What was the peak when Asuna just kind of launched compared to the peak of when Rem?
I think the peak Rem
it would have been season 1, right? So like 2011.
Okay, so Noragami, I don't even think I put it in my top 100.
Hot take, I always thought Lisbeth was better in terms of design. I thought she had a more interesting design than Asuna. I understood the appeal, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those that I'm just kind of like, eh. Wow, we've been here for 40 minutes. I'm so sorry, guys. We had Code Geass and Lord of the Rings come into the fold. I'm actually surprised this isn't 2 hours. I really just kind of like, yeah, at a certain point, I got to just kind of speed this up a little bit. But thank you everyone for watching. I definitely do appreciate it. Let me know what your thoughts are. 3 really heavy known Kip will rant about this. Code Geass. We kind of transitioned to other anime and stuff. What is your anime? Do you think Golden Time goes better than Toradora? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you everyone for watching. See you all in the next one.